Tweets from a comedian based in Portland are getting national attention. He says Border Patrol agents pulled him off a Greyhound bus in Spokane and interrogated him for about 20 minutes. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Jane McCarthy. Comedian Mohamed El-Sheikhi says Border Patrol agents told him his 2 forms of documents were fake and that he was illegal. He was eventually let go, but the situation is now prompting response from city leaders and the organizations involved. U.S.
Customs and Border Protection tells us they are talking with the agents involved to find out exactly what happened. Workers there say the 2 forms of documents the comedian gave them are not considered legal for verifying status as an asylum seeker in the U.S.
The Spokane City Council passed an ordinance last October aimed at stopping Border Patrol from conducting the so-called bus checks at the Intermodal Center, but the searches never stopped.
That's because Border Patrol says federal law supersedes local law, and under federal law, the checks are allowed.
But as KREM 2's Casey Decker tells us, Council member Brianne Beggs believes the searches violate the 4th Amendment. Casey?
Jane, Mark, yeah, this latest incident, of course, really resurrected that whole debate, and to an extent, it gave it a national spotlight, as you said. And today, several council members, like Brianne Beggs, are looking for new ways to stop the practice of bus searches altogether.
All it is a fear of brown and black people, and it's horrible and wrong in every way.
Councilwoman Kate Burke says she was ashamed when she saw El-Sheikhi's viral thread. In fact, she tweeted an apology to him last night. Burke has long argued that the ongoing practice of Border Patrol officers boarding buses at the Intermodal Center and asking questions about citizenship needs to end.
That should not be a way we treat people in our community and that are passing through and that live here. They've posed no danger. They've posed no reason to be questioned.
Border Patrol has long said they're just doing their job.
You get people coming out here claiming that we're shaking people down for their papers, calling us Gestapo and everything else. It's nothing further from the truth. Out here racially profiling, nothing further from the truth. Everything that happens in that bus is on the up and up. Everybody gets the same line of questions. We're not concerned with race, we're concerned with nationality.
Last year, in an effort to stop the bus searches, the City Council passed an emergency ordinance. That ordinance declared the Intermodal Center off limits to immigration agents unless they had a warrant or written permission from the mayor. But the Border Patrol said in response, federal law gives them the authority to conduct the checks within 100 miles of the border. Spokane is roughly 90 miles from the Canadian border.
So our operations are status quo right now. We have the authority to be at the bus station.
And Mayor David Condon agreed, so the checks have continued. But this latest viral incident is bringing that debate back to the forefront.
Anytime we get the attention of the U.S. Congress and the national media for something that's really unfortunate, that's not good, but it also, I think, inspires the majority of Spokane to insist that we follow the law here.
Councilman Brianne Beggs believes that regardless of any federal statutes or agency policies, these checks are illegal under the 4th Amendment, which protects against illegal searches. But the only way to sort all this out would be in court.
Well, we've been continuing to meet with interested lawyers and law firms who might want to represent people on this, including even the gentleman that had such a bad time in his trip to Spokane, to go to federal court.
The original ordinance was also intended to give the city itself the ability to take these searches to court, but the mayor is the only one who can appoint lawyers to do that, says Beggs, and he hasn't.
So that's something that we're going to look at, is how independent should the city legal department be so that they could represent city council when someone in the city is not following the law.
And now I asked the mayor's office for comment on this story today. A spokeswoman told me the mayor's position on the bus searches has not changed. He still agrees with the Border Patrol that they have the authority to conduct those searches. Jane, Mark.
All right, Casey, thank you very much. So as it stands right now, the Border Patrol and the City Council are at odds over what each side believes agents are allowed to do on city property.
Meantime, legal advocates at the Spokane Center for Justice are weighing in on the matter too. Here's KREM 2's Alexa Block with their recommendations for passengers.
Whether it's by plane, bus, or car, it's a constitutional right to be able to travel. And it's under the 4th Amendment that travelers are protected from being searched and their property being taken without a legitimate reason. So in the case of when a Border Patrol agent gets on a bus and asks a person for their immigration status or identification, what can you do legally? And what should you do?
Those who are traveling should request an attorney. They're not required to show any particular documents to a Border Patrol agent or a Customs Enforcement. Immigration is a civil matter, not a criminal matter.
According to the Center for Justice, it is a constitutional right to have legal representation. However, Border Patrol and Custom agents don't have to tell you about your right to have an attorney.
Everyone has the same right to demand their constitutional rights be respected.
The Center for Justice says people can always ask for a lawyer and they don't have to show any identification or speak with agents without a lawyer present.
I definitely believe, and the Center for Justice firmly believes, that we can strike a balance between enforcing the law, but what we also have to be careful of is that we don't overstep our bounds, that we don't allow government and agents of the government to overstep their bounds, that we respect everyone's civil rights, that we respect everyone's civil liberties.
In Spokane, Alexa Block, KREM 2 News.
In other news tonight, the woman accused in the shooting death of another woman in Spokane is now being investigated on a first-degree murder charge. That means detectives believe Ashley Horning planned to kill the victim. Detectives filed a search warrant in order to seize more forensic evidence from the scene. That's following the death of 48-year-old Christina Powell. She was the mother of Horning's ex-boyfriend. That search warrant shows that elevated murder charge. Taking a turn now to our local forecast. Sunny skies hanging around the inland northwest for the next few days.
Great stuff. Right, look at that. The clouds cleared at Lookout Pass yesterday. This photo's from KREM 2's Brittany Bailey of the gorgeous skiing conditions up there. And Tom, we are hoping it stays looking like that for a while.
Yeah, I think we're going to see sunshine tomorrow after we burn off low clouds and fog. We don't have any real organized weather systems heading towards us. That's going to let our overnight lows get cold tonight. Should drop down to about 20. Heck, we're already pretty chilly. 29 degrees the current temperature, and the winds are calm. I mentioned that overnight low of 20. Should become mostly sunny on your Tuesday. We'll peak out right around 37 degrees as we head into the weekend. Wet weather on tap. Could see area rain and snow showers with highs in the upper 30s. Overnight lows Sunday morning dropping down into the upper 20s. I'll take a look at that 7-day outlook for you coming up in a few minutes.
Thank you, Tom. We are following breaking news now out of Houston. This is a live look right now. The Houston mayor telling us 5 police officers were shot. Police say 2 suspects are dead in this, and they are also looking for a 3rd suspect. This is a look at the scene outside the emergency room where those officers were taken. Authorities there are waiting for word on their co-workers, and at this point, we do not know the conditions of those 5 officers.
Yikes. A Spokane Valley man is slowly starting to recover after a devastating skiing accident at Silver Mountain a week ago. Chris Barkley fell on a run and injured his neck, leaving him paralyzed. Already, his family says he is getting some feeling back, and our Taylor Vito spoke with his family. Why they're encouraged by his progress so far, coming up new at 6.
Well, hundreds of thousands of federal employees reported back to work today. President Donald Trump signed a bill last week to fund the government until February 15th. Meantime, talks continue on his border wall. The White House says the president could declare a national emergency or shut down the government again if Democrats don't give him the funding he's asking for. A bipartisan group of lawmakers from the Senate and House is set to meet Wednesday to work on that funding deal.
Around 1,000 of those federal employees work in North Idaho. Many of them work for the U.S. Forest Service, and today was all about catching up.
KREM 2's Taylor Vito spoke with them as employees get back to work today. Taylor?
Well, guys, I spoke with the forest supervisor here just about an hour ago. She tells me that today employees were pretty much assessing just what the effects of the shutdown will be. She also told me that they'll be reprioritizing some projects in order to make up for lost time. The lights are on, the work rigs gassed up. Today was a big Monday for roughly 350 U.S. Forest Service employees in North Idaho. The return to work comes after the longest shutdown in U.S. history. So what did that mean for local Forest Service lands and areas? Well, for now, the extent of this shutdown is still being looked at. The Panhandle National Forest Supervisor tells me staff are currently going over their list of priorities, making sure to focus on the most important things. Missing a month of work can really throw things off. There's presumably some cleanup work taking place today. Staff here say toilets at Forest Service trailheads were cleaned just once during the shutdown. The agency used leftover money from last year's budget to pay employees for the day. Some employees also worked to make sure timber sales were still happening. For now, it's a slower time of the year for the Forest Service, but staff are now busy trying to figure out what projects and when they can do them this year. And I'd also reached out to a spokesperson for the Nez Perce Clearwater National Forest down in Kamiah. She also told me that at this point, staff are really just taking it all in, assessing what the effects will be and what they need to do moving forward. Live in North Idaho, Taylor Vito, KREM 2 News.
All right, Taylor, thank you. And we do have a new date for the State of the Union. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi invited the president to give his annual address on February 5th, and he accepted the offer.
It was postponed because of the government shutdown.